Hello, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, and welcome to a very special podcast. My name is Dead Ponic, and to my left is King Orange, Lord of all citrus fruit and vitamin C.
I've been looking forward to this.
And then down below is our very special guest, Flynn.
Hello there.
God damn it. She did the thing. Okay, so for this video, we are going to be reviewing the 1986 sequel to Aliens, and we are going to be covering the theatrical version. We will be covering some of the special editions changes in a separate video or an extended version of this. But before we actually get started with the movie, let's quickly talk about how we were introduced to the Alien series. And I think it's best to start off with Orange because he's my longtime partner here, so I figure I'll give him the honor first.
Oh, why thank you. You're just too kind. My introduction with the Alien series is kind of funny because I grew up with, essentially I was introduced to them probably back when I was, just about entering middle school, pretty much. And for me, a lot of it came down to like the Aliens vs. Predator games and all that, and that always intrigued me. And then eventually kind of led into wanting to see the movies. And so I started with the first one, which at the time when you're seeing it for the first time as a 12-year-old, it scares the living heck out of you. And then it led to me watching Aliens. And Aliens was especially a big one because I was already into the Terminator series by then. So I already kind of had familiarity with like, wait a minute, this one's directed by James Cameron? Like the James Cameron? And so there was already like this connection with that. So I think when it comes with Aliens specifically, that one easily developed as a big one for me because that's kind of like the reference point when you think about like the Aliens versus Predator games. Like that's kind of the template that everything else is built on. So when seeing it, it was really cool because it just had that vibe, just that really cool vibe with the suspense, with the action, with the sense of family connection that was formed, especially with Ripley and the rest of the cast. And Ripley was just also just one of those characters that was like you want a good representation of a badass female character, look no further.
Well, if you need another example, watch my video on Princess Leia. You'll understand because by the way, Orange provided the voiceover for that. But so funny thing with me, so I was actually in grade 9 when this happened, but my dad actually said, "Hey, watch this movie and try not to get scared." In fact, I was not scared. I was actually kind of fascinated. Even though I had never seen the first movie, I enjoyed the second movie so much that I consider it to be like quite possibly, and maybe this is a matter of opinion, but it is probably better than Alien, and it is definitely one of the best sequels ever made. It's more action heavy, but it still has that horror element. And there were so many things that opened up about the universe, like, for example, that, these creatures it's not just like one. Imagine, if you think one is bad, imagine an entire hive of these things. And to make a reference, well, we'll talk about it later, but to make a kind of call forward, I every time I think about the Queen when they talk about it, I think of one scene from TCW. The bugs have a queen. And I'm like, oh no. And it is pretty much it is it is one of my favorite films, and it is coming up on its 40th anniversary next year. So I'm really excited for that. And also, this summer is actually, they're doing an alien creature feature on TV. So I figure, okay, well, they might be showing aliens and they might be showing Predator. So I figure, why not, have a marathon about that. All right, Flynn, how did you get introduced to this film?
So I wasn't really into aliens much as a child. Like I've heard of it, but I was always the type of child that got really scared of movies about like these creatures from space. So when I met Orange at college, he actually introduced me to Aliens. He's like, well, come on, at least watch it. Watch the first one and see how you feel. I watched it. It's a good movie. It had parts where, ooh, won't get into much detail yet, but then afterwards, me and him watched the most. I forgot where we left off, but it actually got me really into Aliens. And even though I was scared, I'm like, oh wow, this is such a really good series. I want to watch more and see what happens. And I think they're making a new Aliens, if I'm correct.
They're making a show now, but they're
What?
making a TV show now. The most recent one was Alien Romulus, and that was about a year ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
but this one's talking about like this is the second one by Cameron.
And
Oh okay.
funny enough, we'll get into this, but Cameron was just coming off of first Terminator, and he was approached by the studio. Well, he approached the studio with this awesome idea, and they were really convinced they had to have Ripley in the second movie. So uh, Cameron approached Sigourney Weaver. Sigourney Weaver jumped at the idea. She was involved in a majority of the process, and it was a very this was a very very personal thing for her. Like she really enjoyed making this film, and because of the emphasis on more action than horror, it did allow for Ripley to go from that sole survivor to essentially the badass of one of the most badass female characters in fiction. And we all know the moment, but we'll get to that. All right, so starting off with the film, I gotta say right now, I really enjoy how the movie opens. It's very now you don't necessarily. I also recommend very strongly watch the first Alien movie so you get the context of everything. But I really like how it's set up, and there's very little in terms of it is kind of suspenseful, and then we get the bit where the welder cutter is cutting through the door, and you get the that scanning bit. I really like that. I enjoy that because it really shows Weyland Yutani is investing in robotics, and of course they're gonna have stuff like this.
Also, just a compliment to the filmmaking itself. They do a really good job. Like the fact that the practical effects, like this is 1986, and the practical effects are so bloody good. And you'll see that a lot more as the film continues and whatever else. But even just this opening scene with this very dynamic scanner machine that's just put in, and between that and the very cold atmosphere and showing essentially, yeah, this is already something where the atmosphere is already well established. And yeah, so essentially the salvage team, go into the ship and they realize, oh, there's someone alive in here.
Along with the cat.
And
Along with the cat.
yeah, along with the cat. We can't miss out on Jonesy.
Yeah. So Ripley wakes up. Apparently, she was out there for 57 years, but the movie does this little red herring thing where, it turns out she got infected. But it's all just a nightmare, and then the chest burster thing. But it's all just a
But
nightmare.
yeah, Flynn, do you remember how freaked out you were by that with the chest
Don't
bursting
remind
scene at
me.
the fake
Don't
out?
don't remind me. I was so petrified seeing that scene. Like I actually hid myself, I think, under the covers for 2 minutes.
It is an effective fake out because Ripley does wake up basically in relative safety, and then we actually cut to she actually wakes up, and we're introduced to Carter Burke, aka the slimiest executive you can think of. If when you think of slimy executives and CEOs and all that, this guy, this is one of those characters that he is slimy from the beginning. Now we are going to be. Oh, sorry.
Actually going to counter that point, if I may. I actually think the film does a good job of kind of setting him up as a twist villain because he kind of, in the first half of the film, he comes across as the only person that actually believes in Ripley's story and actually goes out of his way to kind of defend her in front of the board members. Like
That's
he's
yeah, that's
like
true.
he's someone that like works that way because it's like now of course when you get the context of what his motives are later in the movie, you know why. He only believes her because it's like, "Oh yeah, these aliens do exist. Oh, I can make a lot of money out of them with the bioweapons division and everything
Yeah.
else." And so he is a scumbag where you can easily see how that leads into that, but it's kind of nice how at the beginning they seem to almost kind of fake him out as like someone who's like, oh, he seems like a kind of a nice dude.
Actually,
Only for
actually,
you.
the novelizations points out that the reason that the board members they send Carter or Burke along to the mission to LV-4226 is because he has excellent people skills and he was able to get Gorman on board and all that, and he was also in charge of special projects, namely the atmospheric processor. That is something I forgot to mention. We are going to be referencing the River of Pain and the Aliens comic book, which does explain a few things about what happened before the team got there. And this is the actual name of the settlement, which we'll get to in a minute. So yeah, so reintroduction with the cat. Like, I'm glad the cat survived. Thank goodness, because it would have been a shit show if they killed off the cat. But so
Could watch a dozen humans die, barely shrug the minute one animal is so much harmed. How dare you,
well, then everyone loses
director?
their minds. So we get the board scene now, the board like the inquiry scene, and I gotta say, I actually appreciate Sigourney Weaver's acting here because she's basically they're basically kind of trauma like shaming her because it's clear that she has massive PTSD. And also I love the fact that like almost every single executive is smoking and it's hilarious because that would be something.
That's a very 80s based thing, like the whole everyone smoking. Like that would not it wouldn't fly by today's standards, and it's also a case of just saying it doesn't even make sense because no, you would not be smoking on a space station. That's just a no-no. Like that is a fire hazard waiting to happen. But
Yeah, so and
yeah.
they're basically going over the events of well basically the Nostromo set down on LV 426 then they set off on its journey again, but then they basically say, well, the Nostromo was set to self-destruct by you for reasons unknown. Not reasons unknown. We set down on company orders to get this thing, and this thing wiped out my crew, and well, she basically says, okay, well, there's no sign of the alien. That's right, because I blew out of the goddamn fucking airlock. Which, badass moment from that movie, by the way. And they're basically like, is there any indications that like there's something like this on LV-426? And one of the people was like, no, it's desolate, it's a rock. And Ripley's reaction to that is hilarious. Did IQ suddenly drop while I was away? And they kind of
It
re-go.
has that snarkiness to her that is always kind of just lovable because she works well as a main protagonist because the thing is she is very humanized. She has her vulnerabilities. I mean, her post-trauma in this is a big focal point of her vulnerabilities with her character development, as well as just her motherly instincts. But then at the same time, she's also someone who's extremely firm, and she just does not take anyone else's bullshit. That's
Yeah,
just not a thing with her.
yeah, and one funny thing is they go over like what the alien itself is capable of. So a creature that gestates inside of a human host. These are your words, and has concentrated acid for blood. And it's like, yeah. So they're like, okay, well, we don't technically believe you, and that's it. So they basically revoke her flight status and all that. But it turns out there's families on LV-426, and they've been living there for 20 years, and they never complained about any hostile organisms. And she's like, you fucking assholes, you have no idea what's out there. And we'll talk about that reveal later. But yeah, and then well, we get introduced briefly to Gorman, who is and basically Burke is like, hi Ripley, this is Lieutenant Gorman of the Colonial Marine Corps. Shuts the door in the face. Okay, movie over. They're like, nope, nope, we're not doing this.
Um, could you imagine, my friends, could you just imagine that if the movie just ended right then and there? Just like, hello, I'm you, Lieutenant Gurlman, just
Eh,
movie over.
but they they basically say, well, they lost contact with the colony, and they're like, okay, we want you to go back out there, go with us as an advisor. You guys throw me to the wolves, and you want me to go back out there? Forget it. And then, well, they're basically like, okay, well, Burke says, well, what if I could get you reinstated as a flight officer, and the company has already agreed to pick up your contract? It turns out, when on top of the regular medical checkups and the medication that is described in the book, she has massive PTSD and anxiety disorder, but she's working at the docks as a power loader driver, which will come into play later, which is an interesting thing I learned. Uh, that is, and so basically they're like, she's like, no, not happening. And then later on, she wakes up in a cold sweat, and well, Burke gives Ripley his card, which is just like this little piece of like clear plastic. Apparently,
Future technology, if you
love
want
it.
to call someone, just insert the card in the TV.
And wait, it opens up to naked Burke. Yes, I found that out. Yes. So this is not the part that I have issue with. The funny thing is that Burke doesn't bother to put on pants before he answers the call. So basically, they're like, Ripley's like, you're going out to destroy them, right? Not to study, not to bring back. That's the idea. And then she's like, all right, I'm in. And she turns to the cat. And you little shit, you're staying here. We don't need another.
Yeah, well, considering everything Jones has dealt with in the first movie, I can imagine that's probably a mercy on him, all things considered. I mean, I don't know, like Flynn, we need a professional opinion here. Flynn, how do you think a cat would feel if you spent an entire movie on a space station with a killer alien on the loose and the entire crew that has been feeding you and taking care of you are in absolute panic? How do you think that? How would that feel?
Like for the cat?
For the cat, yeah.
The cat would be like traumatized. Like the cat would be like, you want me back on that ship? No. Nope. I'd rather stay here and get fed by these other people.
Feed me, human. I have experienced too much.
Feed me. I am a soul survivor.
Cats don't guard, they judge. Anyway,
They do judge.
So we cut to the shot of the Sulaco. Gotta say, love this. Love the model shot. Love the design of the Sulaco. It kind of reminds me of a UNSC frigate.
It does. I was just about to mention that. It does look like the frigate ships from Halo, where it's like, because it's like when you think of the Sulaco, it just looks like a giant gun. And it's like that's literally
that's not the only thing. That's not the only thing that is referenced in Halo. Like, this is not the only thing that gave inspiration for Halo. The other thing I never thought I'd get to make this reference. Mac rounds in atmosphere. One way to get their attention.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, it does definitely give off that UNSC frigate vibe. Which is another proof of concept that I can tell Bungie definitely took a lot of inspiration.
Not just that. So we're introduced to our crew. So we have Ripley, we have Lance Hendrickson as Bishop. Turns out he's an android. We have Gorman, we have Burke, we have Al Powell as the sergeant.
Proto Johnson,
yeah,
basically.
Sergeant Powell, yeah. And yeah, he is the inspiration behind Johnson. I'm actually kind of surprised, like, nobody's brought that up. But then we get two famous other actors. Michael Biehn as Hicks. And Bill Paxton, may he rest in peace, bless his soul, as Hudson. Now, funny thing about Bill Paxton, he is the only actor who has been killed by a Terminator, a Predator, and an alien. So that tells you, and also he survived, he went up into space twice, and he survived a tornado. Watch Twister, it's really good. But yeah, he is, like, Bill Paxton was a fantastic actor. And
he's a legend, God rest his soul.
Yeah, wherever he is. So, and and then we have Vasquez and Drake. Funny thing about these two, in the novelization, it's explained that they enlisted together because of the youth outreach program, where Vasquez actually embraced the Marine life. Drake did not. He's more rebellious. And they're referred to as the sweethearts because it's heavily implied, well, everybody thinks that they're, romantically involved, but but there's no indication of that. Thank goodness they don't
They're
touch on.
not really, well, it's a misconception because of how close they are in their kinship when the actual reality is practically, as you mentioned, because they're both part of the same program, they pretty much almost grew up together. So it's kind of like, we're both kind of the closest friends we've ever had for each other, so we're always going to have each other's backs. But
Yeah, and one of my favorite Hudson lines. Jeez, this floor is cold. What do you want me to do? Get your slipper for you? Gee, would you do that, sir? Look into my eye. Love that. And the first thing that Powell does is he puts this after they wake up. Is he literally puts a cigar in the
cigar in his mouth. And that's the proof he is the proto Johnson because
yes,
every scene Johnson's in, he has to have a cigar in his
yeah.
mouth. That's just a thing with
All
him.
right, sweetheart.
So
Oh, can I do that? Can I do the thing? All right,
yeah,
all
go
right,
for it.
sweethearts. What are you waiting for? Breakfast in bed. Another glorious day in the Corps. Every uh
Every
every,
meal is a banquet, every paycheck a fortune,
I
every
love the
formation
Corps.
a parade. I
I love
love
the
the
Corps.
core.
And so they get dressed, and also we get introduced to Farah as well. She's gonna be the pilot, and basically, well, Vasquez
I'm
is
sure she will remain relevant to the plot for a very, very long time.
so Vasquez is actually like doing pull chin-ups like on the overhead thing, and I really like that. And also, hey Vasquez, have you ever been mistaken for a man? No. Have you? that is brilliant. But it
It's
also
good. It's good small talk. It's good small talk. Helps get the idea of these Marines where it's very clear the thing about these Marines on like for better and for worse is they've gone through good stuff, but at the same time, it's clear they're not taking this situation very seriously. And of course, as we're going to find out later in the movie, that is going to be to their detriment
yes.
because Ripley, meanwhile, is very serious, getting immediately worked in, talking with everyone, and then she finds out Bishop's an android, and she is like,
Funny thing about that. So okay, there is a line here that hasn't aged very well. It's so hey Sarge, what's the op? You'll love it. It's easy. There's some juicy colonist girls we have to rescue from their virginity. It's like that has not aged very well, unfortunately. And
I
then
mean, unfortunately, it's very based on like old, like you have to kind of think about the time it's made. It's like it's very much referencing like behaviors based on soldiers like back in Vietnam. And
oh,
that's kind of,
there is a Vietnam and allegory here that
oh,
it.
there is a heavy
Oh my
Vietnam
god,
allegory
yes.
in
Oh
this.
my god, it's
And it's, which we'll get into more later in the movie, but like, yeah, but that's the point. These Marines they're arrogant as heck, and that's, so yeah, like meanwhile, Ripley's dealing with everything,
the knife thing.
and
So
she's,
Bishop, so basically Bishop does this thing where like he has the knife and he's just going, and Hudson's hand is like right on the bottom. And funny story. So apparently there was a rumor that they weren't going to, they didn't tell Bill Paxton about that little stunt, but then they had to reshoot it the next day, so it kind of ruined it. But I believe what they do here is they kind of so he's actually going in slow motion, but they speed it up.
but they speed it up. They speed up the footage.
Yeah, and that's pretty impressive in and of itself. And I'm not gonna lie, when Ripley finds out about um, Bishop being an android, his response to he says, I found the older models were always a bit twitchy. And it's like, and it turns out
Well, and they explain too how the change goes because the type 20 something something, it's like, oh, that's not the case now. We've been designed with new behavioral inhibitors. It is literally programmed in me for it to be impossible for me to harm or by a mission of action allow harm to another human
yes,
being.
the $3 of robotics. Oh god, I hate the $3 of robotics.
Yeah, and so, but still, Ripley does not trust him at all. But given her experiences in the last movie, I can't say I blame her.
So yeah,
Considering the last robot not only tried to kill her, but kind of tried to kill her in a very provocative
in a
way.
very fucked up way. Like he literally tried to like asphyxiate her with a
Shove a magazine down her throat.
Yeah. And also another thing, you have not seen the first movie. So Bishop has this thing instead of like when you think of robots and blood, they usually have like an oily bluish. In this case, it's white. Now we're not gonna make any jokes, but the white blood thing, I believe it's supposed to be like reminiscent of milk. I'm just gonna I'm gonna say that. So yeah, anyway, so the Marines have their like meeting, and I love Hudson saying, "Is this gonna be another stand-up mission, sir, or another bug hunt?" And this is actually where we get the name of the alien. This is the only time that the alien is given an official name. It is said only in this movie, which is the Xenomorph. And basically, they go through and they're not taking the situation seriously. Like, they're like, oh yeah, we should kick this thing's ass. But they don't realize what's going on. And Gorman's being a hard ass, as, you know, a commanding officer would. And I think Hicks is the only one who's actually taking the situation seriously, because he's actually like, he's specifically looking at Ripley. And we'll talk about the relationship between those two later. But he's clearly taking the situation seriously, but everybody else is not. And I really like this. I like the scene quite a bit. And then they get ready, and we get introduced to the power loader. Love this thing. This was a combination of animatronics and a little bit of stop motion and practical effects, and a little bit of product placement, because Ripley is wearing Reebok sneakers. Yeah.
Yeah, well, hey, it can't be a movie without a little bit of product placement in there, but
And it
yeah,
goes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, you're fine. I mean, that's another praise thing I would say with the movie is it does a really good job with the technology exploration, because it's kind of cool how they give, and I think that's the thing I always love about 80s sci-fi in general. It's like all the technology is very clearly hyper advanced within the context of the lore and setting, but because of the limitations of the actual filmmaking at the time, it's built very mechanically and very pragmatically. And what's kind of funny is like you take like the first film, for example, a lot of people say like, oh, it wouldn't be realistic by today's standards for everything to be so old-fashioned tech. Funny enough, I have learned from actual like sources at NASA, like people from NASA that watched the original Alien, you know, from today. They actually say that no, that's actually extremely realistic, because what they say is anytime you're operating technology in space like that, typically they always approach it with a very minimalist approach. So the thing is that you're developing a piece of tech that's extremely minimalist. That way it's very simplistic by design. So one, it functions exactly the way it's supposed to without any complicated things, so it's easy to learn. B, the mechanics of the equipment are so simple that way if anything breaks down, it's easy to either repair it or replace parts. And C, it's also the case of it's a lot more cost efficient. So it's kind of funny when I think about that. So
Yeah. So okay.
that's kind of a big element. And then I mean, I would also say most of the effects hold up pretty well. I mean, Flynn, was there any particular moment on your end that you would say that was there any moment with the technology that came across as unconvincing to you, or did it feel like everything fit in?
Um, I know when I first watched it, I was like, man, this technology looks pretty cool. This was probably made in 1990 or something. But I feel like the technology went well into play with the whole franchise. Like, it went really well with the movie. I personally loved it as someone who's really into animatronics, but I just think that the machinery looks pretty well done for a movie that was made back in 1980.
86.
Thank you.
You're fine. You're fine.
I was gonna say 1980s. I mean, it would still work.
80s, it would work out. So
Yeah, and honestly, I'm gonna be blunt, nothing beats the animatronics, which we'll especially get to when we actually talk about the xenomorphs themselves and all
oh
their
yes, we will talk about that. But another thing I like to talk about is how uh, Sergeant Powell is more. He's not like, what's the word I'm looking for? He's not like hostile towards Ripley. In fact, he's kind of friendly towards her in a way, like because she says, "Hey, I feel like a third wheel around here. Is there anything I can do? I don't know. Is there anything you could do? Well, I can drive that loader. I have a class 2 rating. Be my guest." And so she straps in, she picks up a box, she says, "Where do you want it?" "Bay 12, please." I'm going to be quoting this movie a lot, just fair warning, because I love this movie so much.
Yes. I mean, it's a good example of showcasing that, like, the thing about Ripley as a whole, and it works well with her dynamic with a lot of the other characters, is Ripley works very well as a character because here's the thing about her. Does Ripley have her flaws? Yes. She's someone that unfortunately trauma does get to her very easily at times. And on top of that, there are moments where she can be a bit of a hothead. However, by the same token, one of the best qualities related to Ripley is she's extremely adaptable. It's like anytime her conditions change, she's very quick to be able to kind of adjust her condition to be able to fit right in.
Yeah.
And it's
Now,
and
she, Mhm.
that's always such a big thing related to her character that I think works very well because it's kind of the case of I think it's a case of saying that like once when a lot of the Marines get to know her, which this is especially the case when we account for the survival team from the, later in the movie, it's like they grow to really like her because as soon as they realize, oh yeah, she's not actually crazy, they realize, oh dang, she's actually like really capable and
There's even a
actually
line
good at
before.
strategizing.
There's even a line before where like she's supposed to be some kind of consultant. Apparently, she saw an alien once. Whoop de fucking do. Love that line from Hudson. So they get.
Don't they also make an immigration joke with that too, if I'm not mistaken?
What does that mean? Like, I know that.
I think they said like what what kind of illegal we're dealing with here or something. Like it was like I think they were making a joke about that.
I'm not entirely sure, but yeah. So they're gearing up, and we briefly get in a brief introduction, but we'll talk about this later. Pulse rifle. Love the pulse rifle. This is like if you think blasters and phasers from Star Wars and Star Trek are cool, pulse rifle. And we'll go into it. I'll go into the technical details later, but they're gearing up, and I love the armor. I love how it's very like segmented, and there's like clips and like belt buckles everywhere, and the helmet has like a light on top. There's a like an infrared thing. I love how they're gearing up and they're taking the pulse rifle. They've got the smart gun, which me personally, I think that looks like a crane for some reason, but it's a really cool like weapon, and it's basically just a heavy weapon. If you've ever played TF2, it's basically a futuristic minigun, if you will. And then you have the flamethrower, of course. And
All right, I think we need to settle the debate once and for all. Pick my two friends. Pick your poison. Pulse rifle from Aliens, assault rifle from Halo, or an E11 from Star Wars.
Okay, actually, well, let's let Finn go first. So, yeah.
Oh, why me? These are such hard choices. Oh my god. All right. As much as I love Star Wars, I wouldn't actually pick that one. And as someone who's been playing, like me personally, I love the guns in Halo, and I especially like the assault rifle, that orange.
Of course, Deponic, you gotta show off.
Okay.
You're lucky I don't have mine right now. I have it in the other room.
But if you want my answer, I would choose Halo's assault rifle. Personally for me, I like it because it's one, good to use, especially in combat, and two, boom, yeah.
Fair enough.
I had good reasons.
Yeah, for me, I would pick I'm of the E11 itself is not a bad gun. It's the fact that it's one of those weapons you kind of, it's like it's used by both the bad guys and the good guys when they get their hands on weapons. So it's like, okay, I'm fine with that. I mean, it's a standard issue weapon. So it's no DC-18, but if I had to pick a weapon, I would rather choose an E11 over, say, something like the E33 or something. Because at least I know that at least I can go carbine, I have a scope on top, I can actually I can shoot and I'm able to hit something. But there's just something special about the pulse rifle. Because this weapon is fires 10 millimeter explosive tip caseless standard anti-infantry rounds along with an underbarrel grenade launcher. And I am in. Well, I'm not an American, but if I was an American, I'd be in heaven with this gun. Just saying.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. But yeah, after the briefing is done and the power loader is done, they finally make their way into the planet. All the Marines are like loading up, they're getting their guns ready. And that's where we also get introduced to the smart gun, which is really cool.
Love this thing.
Vasquez and Drake make use of that. And then they all enter this nice little like armored car, and then the
APC.
armored what was it again?
APC. It's an APC.
APC, thank you. And then they finally board into the dropship.
The
And
Cheyenne, the
so,
Cheyenne dropship. Oh boy, I know too much about
and
this.
this is why you're the aliens know-it-all on this one.
I hate being the know-it-all here. And so basically, the dropship, it gets like it's put over the hatch, and we get one of my favorite lines, which we've made reference to a couple times. But this is the line that will always be referenced if you played ODST or you played that one mission in Halo 2. You have to have at least one friend say it. We're on the express elevator to hell, going down. And
It's good. But
I,
yeah, they
I
immediately make their drop zone down, and then this eventually leads them towards the colony. And so what they immediately notice is, this is where they're immediately thrown off because the colony is like, there's damages there. They don't see any activity going around, but like the damages aren't too major and the power is still on. And they're like, huh, that's a little weird.
yeah, and
And
also another funny line: "Somebody wake up Hicks!" Like, because Hicks is actually sleeping during the drop. Also, we learn Gorman. This is only his second drop.
actual drop.
Yeah, two simulated. Two
No,
simulated.
no, they said like a few dozen simulated, two
Two
actual,
actual. And
with
like,
this
oh
one being the
great.
second.
Yeah, and
But yeah, it's basically meant to help highlight that Gorman's not a very experienced field commander. So
because
we're
oh, sorry.
already, which you could kind of tell that's probably an element related to the fact that the company themselves aren't really taking the situation very seriously.
They have
But
ulterior motives, but it also
well,
shows.
that too.
There's also a bit behind this in the novelization where they highlight that the Marines don't really like Gorman because he's so by the books, and that comes back to bite everybody in the ass later. So they sit down and it's raining, and I like how they deploy, and I like how and actually the colony itself, basically the little town, is called Hadley's Hope. And they go in, and Hudson is the combat tech specialist, so he's the one who actually opens the door. And they discover, well, the colonists, they set up a bunch of barricades, and there were small arms fire. There was a small Marine detachment, and I will go into this. So what happened was basically a couple people got infected, the aliens spread. They moved most of the colonists to D-block storage. Then they deemed it was too dangerous, so some of them went with some of the Marines. Or sorry, no, they went off to another section. Most of the Marines got killed off, and most of the colonists die off. And we'll talk about news parrots a little bit later, but that's basically. And they literally show up like not even moments before that all that happened. So they're kind of in a, whatever happened here, I think we missed it kind of situation.
Yeah, and they highlight like an element I already got to credit the film like really, especially by the time you get to the colony scene where they're exploring it. This is just pure good atmosphere work where it's building that suspense, and it's crazy to think about because they build up all this suspense throughout the entire sequence, but there's not even a single alien there. Yet, just through the way just the way it's shot and edited and how the music score goes, there's never a moment where you don't feel tensed, like as if something could happen. And I think that works really well because it's kind of like an element that works really well with Aliens, even with it going for the more action genre. It doesn't just rush into, oh, aliens are instantly there, let's start shooting. It still takes its time to really build that suspense and go, we're still dealing with the threat of the unknown. Sure, through Ripley's eyes, we know more coming in now than what we did before, but it's still like there's just still so much that isn't known. And these Marines are kind of going in and going, what the heck happened here?
Yeah, and they also, well, Hudson basically, he's showing off, and he's like, we've got nukes, we've got lasers, we've got like smart bombs, we've got like a whole bunch of firepower that there's nothing we can't handle. And he's like, check it out, man, I'm the ultimate badass. It's like, knock it off, Hudson. It's like, I love that. And so yeah, so they go through and they discover, well, a piece of the grating was actually melted. Looks like somebody must have bagged one of Ripley's bad guys here. So it's like, acid for blood, you know.
Well, yeah, it's building those good hints, and that eventually leads to them entering the medical room. And
Oh god,
when
the
they
face
do,
huggers.
they discover a few set of old friends waiting in
Oh god.
there, in their little frozen chambers.
So
And particularly when I say old friends, I particularly mean, Flynn, they're your favorites.
They're not my favorite. They're
so
not.
so
They're not.
I'll kind of explain essentially what the face hugger itself is supposed to be. It's basically a walking sex organ. In fact, there's like I'm I'm not trying to make a joke about this. There's literally a
I
bit.
know you're not trying to make a joke. It's just, it's the ramifications of it is horrible.
Yes,
That's the
very
thing.
horrible. And it turns out, well, one of the colonists, they actually killed him trying to take off the face hugger. And actually, but they managed to keep two more alive. That's gonna come into play later. And they basically they go through, and also they have a bit where, oh, the motion trackers, love these things. I love the how they're used. They are so cool. I'm not gonna lie. I love the motion trackers. In fact, if you've played Alien Isolation, you can actually get your own motion tracker. I love this thing. This is one of my favorite pieces of technology from the movie. And so they go through. They have a quick ping on the radar. It turns out it's just a couple of mice. And then they're like, okay, let's go see what their CPU can tell us. And then they detect something, and Drake almost kills somebody because it turns out there's a survivor, and this is Newt. Now, I'm going to talk about what happened here. So, her name is Rebecca, actually, but everybody calls her Newt. And she, unfortunately, is the only survivor of Hadley's Hope. So, her dad, actually, in the extended version, they actually explain how the facehugger first got to Hadley's Hope. But we won't get into that. We'll get into that when we do the special bits. But
Essentially, Newt is the last remaining survivor, and essentially, so after Drake nearly kills a child, good job, Drake.
yeah, yeah, and it's
Ripley gives chase and essentially, finds Newt. Newt is kind of panicked. She doesn't really trust anyone right now. She's in a very
panic state. She's
distraught.
She's very flight or fight here, and also, so as I said before, so basically, her parents they're dead. So in the comics, her mom actually was pushing her and her brother Timmy to go into the air vent. That's how she was able to escape. And then she gets attacked by an alien. So Timmy picks up the pistol and shoots the alien. Unfortunately, acid blood, and he gets acid blood on his face, and he ends up dying. So Ripley's the only survivor, and that comes into play later. But yeah, so regarding particularly Newt specifically, she's actually played by a British actress. I forget her name, but she does a really good job, and I really like this actress. So they were actually filming it in the UK.
Carrie Henn.
Yeah, that's her. Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay, so apologies, guys. Flynn actually had to go. She wasn't feeling very well, so we are not going to edit out her sections, but we are gonna have to unfortunately continue without her. But so as Orange was saying, so regarding Newt, what was it you were saying again?
Newt's inclusion's kind of always an interesting tidbit because it's like I think what works well about it is like Newt kind of helps add a very good human element to something that's otherwise very bombastic and generally just very stressful. And it's kind of it's interesting how I think this film does a very good job, and I credit the writing really heavily on this is a very good depiction on like a traumatized survivor as a kid. Because, Ripley is also dealing with a lot of PTSD, but, the big difference is like, Ripley's responding to it as an adult who has some degree of rationalization with it all, but Newt doesn't really have that.
Yeah, and one other little tidbit, she's running around with like a little plastic doll. I'm okay with this. I actually am of the opinion she is one of the better child actors, and the fact that she doesn't she's not annoying. In fact, she is kind of she has like a couple cute moments, but her character is more there. Not only is she her own character, but she's also there to enhance Ripley, which will come into play later. So they discuss. So basically, Ripley is basically taking care of her because she's playing. They're going into the mom role here, which I actually really like. Now we will talk about this in the special edition stuff, but Ripley did have a daughter. That's Amanda Ripley from Alien Isolation. So
I mean, we could actually, if you want, we can talk about some stuff about the special edition now, given
yeah,
I just didn't want to do it before to say hold off from spoilers
yeah. So okay,
on Flynn's end.
one of the
So we
big
could, so if you want, it's a little bit of backtracking, but we can talk about the extended scene about the revelation with Amanda Ripley.
yeah. So okay, yeah. Let's backtrack quickly for that. So yeah. So it turns out, well, one of the extended edition scenes that is technically a deleted scene for the theatrical version is that Ripley's sitting in kind of like a garden or like underneath a tree on a bench. And it turns out she has a daughter who passed away at the age of 97, I believe. And this is her daughter, Amanda Ripley, who is the protagonist of Alien Isolation, which I think I like that Ripley does in fact have a daughter, and then I think Newt being that surrogate really helps the situation. And funny enough, I actually think the scene where it shows how like Newt's parents Newt's dad specifically gets infected, how that outbreak starts, works better when it's omitted from the film so that we get the iconic line. They're dead, okay? Can I go now? Oh god, that line.
And what's actually kind of funny is the omission was done in part because when James Cameron was done filming everything, 20th Century Fox made it a mandate that he needed to cut a lot of stuff out to save time for a theatrical run. And James Cameron was like struggling to figure out what he wanted to do on that because like, well, I could cut a little here, a little there, but even that wouldn't be enough. And it's like, I don't know how to do this without making the film come across as too choppy. And funny enough, I think it was like either his girlfriend or his wife, one of the two, that essentially suggested like, hey, essentially suggested like, hey, why don't we just cut out the pre-infestated Hadley Hope sections, including how the whole thing starts. And funny enough, James was like, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. And it actually kind of enhanced it because it was like, then we had no idea what life was like before this. It kind of added a mystery element to it.
I also really I like this like the build up to it where like it's basically like they're showing the colonists are working. You see a kid on a trike with a little Weyland-Yutani logo. I think that's really cool. I'm not gonna lie, that is a really
Very good extended scenes, and I think they're great to have. Like, there's a reason why I always say this to people, especially with aliens. I think if you're introducing someone who's never seen any of it before, do the theatrical first. And then when they come back for a rewatch, do the special edition. Because I think scenes like that, you're rewarded more for them when you already know the context.
yeah. So and then there's another special edition extended version later, but so basically they discover that basically all the colonists have a surgically implanted tracking chip and they're right under the central processor. And I love Hicks's line. It's like a goddamn town meeting. And I actually really like like how like despite the fact that they're not really taking the situation seriously, they are trying to, like look after Newt. They're like making sure she's okay, and so they take her with them. They saddle up to go to the processor, and
Well, I would say this is kind of an in-between too, because I wouldn't say like they're not really joking around anymore. They're kind of like they understand, even if they don't fully believe in Ripley's story yet. Well, and I think by then they even understand Ripley's story to a degree because it's like they say like, some of them saw the face huggers. So they clearly know like they at the very least know something is not right. They're kind of like so I think by then they've kind of recognized, okay, something's not right about all this, but they just don't understand the scale of what they're up against. Like,
yeah,
I think there's still that little arrogance of saying, okay, yeah, we know there's something unusual going on here, but we're still the best of the best. We still got a crap ton of firepower. We can still handle
which
this.
which
Like,
leads to an interesting moment. Now, I will criticize this. This is not a criticism of the writing. This is more of a criticism of a tactical situation. Basically, they're right under the thermal heater, and Burke basically explains that the atmospheric processor is basically one giant nuclear reactor. So if any kind of damage and overload will be a thermonuclear explosion. And I love Gorman's reaction. Oh, great. Terrific. Shit. So they're like, okay, we can't have any firing in there, and I want you to collect all the magazines. Is he for fucking real? What the hell are we supposed to use, man? Harsh language? So, and it,
well, see, this is the whole thing. The situation's just getting worse and worse and worse for them. And they mentioned that, like, yeah, no pulse rifles, no grenades. The only thing they're allowed to use is pretty much incendiary
and
units.
backup
And that's
weapons.
it.
Backup weapons. So they have backup
Well,
weapons.
yeah, in the case of, yeah, backup weapons like pistols, or in
They,
Hick's case, a
yeah,
shotgun.
which is a reference. They actually, this is a line that was in in COD 4. I like to keep this handy for for close encounters. I'm like, oh, I know that. I understand that reference. I'm like,
Ha! Ha! I understood that reference.
yeah. So, and they discover, well, before that, they discover it looks like under the processor, there's like evidence of a hive. And it's like, looks like secreted resin.
Well, the area is like terraformed a little bit, and
Yeah.
that's like an element where the aliens are very, like, they've been some busy bugs
Oh,
because,
yeah. Yeah. Nobody touched nothing. And
yeah.
it's like, yeah, and they're just figuring out, oh, this is bioorganic. It's like, holy shit. And so they come across,
Yeah,
they come across an open egg with a face hugger in it, and I love what Hicks does. He literally picks it up, and then when he puts it down, he just goes like that, and I'm
oh,
like,
and they noticed a lot of the dead colonists
oh
too, and
yeah,
they're like,
yeah.
oh.
And
They're like,
Ripley makes a smart decision to say, go sit up front. Also, Bishop is actually he's actually studying the
yeah, he's still back at the colony,
yeah,
but
he's in the
like
lab.
they see a lot of the dead colonists, and they're like, oh,
And they actually find
oh.
one. And this is where I'm going to talk about something that the movie does. So the movie, anytime a major jump scare happens, it does this little doo-doo thing. They only use it 3 times, which I'm very impressed with. And it only happens 3 times in the movie. This is the first one where
No, the second. First time was new.
oh, that's right.
That was the fake
That's
out.
right. So one of the Dietrich, which is the medic, she like turns up the head, and the person
We got a live one
over,
here.
and she's like, please kill me. And then, well, chest burster. And so they fucking incinerate it. And this causes...
But let's just say the chest burster's dying screams. Well, let's just say when a baby one dies, the rest of the Xenos don't take very kindly to that.
Yeah, and it starts off a chain of events, which, so they go to infrared, and they're like, oh, and then, well, one of them is actually, like, hanging on, like, right there, like, it's right there, it's right fucking there, and then it picks up Dietrich, and it's like, she sets out the flamethrower, and basically Frost is gone. Well, it kills a couple people, and also the bag of ammunition explodes and kills another person, and people are, like, going off left and right. Also, Vasquez and Drake, they actually reattach.
They have a backup control chip they use
Yeah,
for
backup
the
battery. So they're like,
guns.
let's rock, and they start firing, and it's like, oh god. And Gorman's not helping, like, And then,
well, Gorman just has no idea what to do in a situation like this. He's like,
what the fuck am I supposed to...
shoot!
Yeah, and so basically...
And this is where we kind of get into the whole, we mentioned it earlier, but this is kind of the moment that really emphasizes it about the Vietnam allegory.
Yeah.
They are coming in with this ultra arrogance of, oh, we got firepower, we got all this good stuff. And then meanwhile, what are the aliens doing? They're using all these different, like, very sneak hit and run attacks and all these intellectual coordinated moves. And it's essentially, it's making a fool out of the Marines.
So yeah, so Ripley
point.
takes the wheel of the APC, and it's like, okay, now they got to get the hell out of there, and we lose another.
Rep to Apone.
Yeah, Apone is, it's like he's like, Vasquez, Drake, hold your damn fire, and he's trying to get orders from Gorman, but then he ends up getting taken, and then, well, it was Drake too, because, well, basically...
Well, as they finally, as Ripley finally pushes in, the rest are like, okay, we need to push and get out of here. And so they try to do that, and Drake salute him for it.
Yeah.
He's kind of like, I'll take, I'll guard the rear. Like, I'll cover everyone else.
And Vasquez shoots an alien, acid blood scorches his face, and then Hicks is like, forget him, he's gone, and they get the fuck out of Dodge. In fact... Well, one scary moment is the alien is like at the door. Shut the fucking door, please! And he takes the fucking shotgun and he goes,
eat this!
And well, Gorman suffers concussion along the way when he's trying to stop Ripley from, doing what she's supposed to be doing. It's just like, she's taking charge of the situation essentially. And he gets knocked out. They drive out of the fucking processor station and they discuss what next to do. Well, Gorman is unconscious, and Vasquez wants to fucking kill him, which is like, I understand that. But not right now. And, well, Burke's not helping, because this is, as he says, this is clearly an important species we're dealing with, and we don't have the right to arbitrarily exterminate them. Wrong. Yeah, watch us. And this installation has a substantial dollar value.
I don't know if you've been keeping up with the news, but we just got our asses kicked, pal.
I love that. And
it's, yeah, like, they're all panicked at this point, and so they're all trying to figure out what to do. Like, maybe we could go back, maybe we could do this.
We could
and
throw in some
Ripley
fucking
comes up with the
nerve
most
gas.
brilliant suggestion of all time. I suggest we we take off and nuke the site from orbit.
It's the only way to
It's the only way to be sure.
Yeah, and the other suggestion, they have fucking 7 canisters of CN-20, which is, they want to roll them in there and nerve gas the whole fucking nest. And, well, it's worth a try, but we don't even know if it'll work with them. That's a war crime in and of itself. Napalm anybody?
Like I said, the Vietnam allegories, but it's like...
And because...
But pretty much, that's their plan, and so they're set to do that, and so they tell the gunship, hey, we need you guys to come and pick us up. Well, let's just say when they take off, they have a little stowaway.
Problem, yeah. And also, well, because it's under military jurisdiction and Hicks is corporal and the highest ranking, he's in charge. So he basically listens to Ripley and says, well, take off, nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. Also...
I also love how Burke's like, this processor is worth, is a multi-million-dollar installation. And Ripley's just like, they can bill me.
I love that. I love that too.
Do not care. These things,
that is
we got bigger problems right now.
So they get out of the APC because the APC is kind of, well, it's not wrecked yet, but so yeah, and then, well, unfortunately, yes, his name is Spunkmeyer, which I'm not even gonna make a joke about that, but
Spunkmeyer? God damn it! Where were you?
Oh, fucking, she actually tries to reach for her pistol, but then, well, alien
kills her. And
I gotta say,
the gunship decides,
I gotta say,
ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. The good news is our landing is imminent. The bad news is
it's
a crash
landing. I actually really like the practical effect that they use for the crash. Now, I actually really like that. I think it's really well done. And also, it goes into the processor, which starts the ticking clock element, which I think is really well done here. And they're like,
essentially, because the gunship crashes into the process reactor, it causes it to essentially overheat and overload. And so, as Bishop points out later in the movie, it's like, yeah, this thing is now unstable. There's nothing we can really do to stop it from blowing up. We only have a few hours before it.
Hudson,
And how big's the explosion? Enough to destroy the state, enough to destroy Kansas.
Nebraska. It's about 40 megatons. Anyway, uh, and then Hudson, well, coming back to the crash. Well, that's just great. That's just fucking great, man. Game over, man. Game over.
Yeah, iconic lines, but so they immediately like lock down inside the colony, particularly the command center of the colony.
Ops, yeah.
Yeah, the ops room. And so they're like, okay, so we only got a few hours here. So two things we need to do. One, we need to barricade this place, especially with it being dark out, because as Newt puts it,
we better get back.
We better get inside soon, because
they mostly
it'll be dark soon, and they come out at night, mostly. And so they immediately start fortifying the place, and they're like, okay, we need to find a way to get another gunship down here.
Which is how they get the transmitter, the remote transmitter was in the fucking APC, which is wrecked. So Bishop comes up with the idea, oh yeah, why don't we just, I'll go.
We can transmit with the colony's
transmitter
signal. But the problem is the transmitter is
at the other end of the colony.
And, all the aliens are nice and outside right now. And so Hudson's like, yeah, no, I ain't freaking doing it. You're out of your mind. And like they're arguing it. And Bishop being Mega Chad is just like, you know what? I'll do it.
And he says, I'm the only one qualified to remote pilot the ship anyway. So it's like, yeah, Bishop should go. And
and Hudson tries to be sarcastic, like, yeah, let the android go and all that. And Bishop's like, I'm not. He's like, look, just because I'm an android doesn't mean I'm not aware of the dangers that's gonna put me in. I'm not stupid.
I may be synthetic, but I'm not stupid. And let's quickly talk about something that is interesting because
believe me, I don't want to go, but
they go through. So he's basically going through the basically a tunnel, a small tunnel, which is horrifying for anybody who's claustrophobic. But basically, he's like, okay, so this conduit runs all the way to the other side of the colony. It takes about 20 minutes to get there. 30 minutes, about 20 minutes to patch in. 30 minutes to prep the ship, and about 50 minutes flight time. It's going to be close. Now let's talk about something, because apparently there's something going on. I read a theory or something where Bishop actually does encounter an alien in the conduit, but
That's in the novelization.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. So he's doing his thing. Actually, no, before...
Well, yeah, he's about to go in. However, he does one more last thing with the lab, and Ripley's like, hey, after you're done studying the facehuggers, I want you to destroy them. And he's like, I was given orders by Burke to keep them preserved for the company.
Oh, yeah.
And Ripley has a lot of nice words.
So it turns out that Burke was the one that he basically sent a message to the colony saying, hey,
investigate this site.
Yeah, and he didn't even tell them. And he basically says, well, what if...
Yeah, he didn't even say whether or not there was like a hostile alien organism there. And she's like, you sent them there and you didn't even warn them. Why did you not warn them, Burke?
And he's making an excuse.
Look. What if I did say it? Then it's departments, then it's government jurisdictions. So and then no one gets shares and no one gets what they want. So I tried to do a move and it was a bad call, Ripley. It was a bad
call. These people are dead, Burke. Don't you have any idea what you've done here? Well, I'm gonna make sure you suffer for this. You get nailed to the wall for this. You're not gonna sleaze your way out of this one. Right to the wall. And yeah, that kind of sets up everything to come for the next little bit. And this is before they realize, oh yeah, the reactor's gonna go boom, so they have to come up with a plan. So while they're doing that, they're hunkering down, and
this actually leads to one extended scene, because in the theatrical they just bunker down and close the door and all that, but an extended bit is actually they discover a set of sentry guns.
Yeah, and actually they actually point out how the service tunnel is actually how they've been moving back, how the aliens been moving back and forth. So basically, like,
I will actually say this here and now. I think the sentry gun scene is actually the one like extended scene that I kind of would say if any of them were going to be reintegrated into the theatrical cut, I think that's the one that should be because it kind of adds to that tension where it doesn't just make you think, oh, the aliens are kind of out of the movie for a bit. Like it shows, no, the aliens actually make an attempt to break in, and the sentry guns help prevent them from doing that. And they're like, the aliens are like, oh, shoot, we can't go through the main entrance. We need to find another way to
yeah.
get.
And then this leads to another thing, which I think is interesting. Let's quickly talk about the relationship between Hicks and Ripley because this is an important thing. So basically, Hicks gives Ripley like a locator thing so he can find her if they become separated. But she puts it on Newt, and then they also teach. They're basically like he teaches her all the helpful and peacekeeping functions of the pulse rifle, and I like the way that these two are. It's strictly a platonic relationship. I really appreciate that. I like that there's no romantic implications. I like that there's, and well, considering that Michael Biehn played Kyle Reese in Terminator, that would be kind of awkward, wouldn't it? Yeah. So there's that, and he's basically just showing her how the things work. Like for example, how to take out a mag and put it back in, and then the grenade launcher, and well, Gorman wakes up and he's basically, well, he's kind of there, I guess, but he'll come into play a little bit later. Then she goes to check on Newt and put her to bed for a little bit, and she actually like uh basically puts the thing on Newt and then comes back to check on her, and that's actually, well, she goes to the ops, which is the extended bit with the sentry guns, and then she goes back to medical and finds Newt is sleeping underneath the bed and basically cuddles up with her and tries to keep her safe. But then we get the probably the scariest part in the movie for me personally, which is, oh shit, the face huggers are out of their jars. Newt, wake up, be quiet, we're in trouble.
And this leads to probably one of the most high tense scenes where, yeah, two face huggers decide, the two face huggers are let loose and they decide it's free real estate.
Yeah, and if a clear sign that Burke is trying to kill them. The door is locked, the pulse rifle is moved out of the room, and Burke is seen turning off the security camera for the room. Somewhere out there, there is a Walmart executive saying, "Oh, come on, you prejudicial assholes."
Yeah, and meanwhile, while this is happening, Ripley and Nuke are trying to find their way out. Meanwhile, they're also worried because it's like the facehuggers could attack at any moment.
Which, I gotta say, the way they do the facehuggers, love it. It is really well done. Like, bravo, Cameron.
They're terrifying.
Yeah.
They are terrifying in every form.
So Ripley gets the idea, hey, I have a lighter. And what do you know? There's a sprinkler. And, well, this is when
fire in the
med lab. So they get there, well, and then, well, Ripley gets attacked. She actually has the tail around the neck, but Newt manages to actually like pin down the other one. And this is the stunt that I actually want to talk about quickly. So the way it's shot, it looks like Michael Biehn, who plays Hicks, actually did dive through a pane of glass. Not true, I found out. But the way that they do stunts like that, where you have to dive through the window, it's a special kind of glass that doesn't like go into jagged pieces, so that there's no risk of actually cutting yourself or hurting yourself. And I love how it's like, shoot it out, and then they blast, and he just goes right through. And the first thing that Hudson does goes right for the kid. I am. Despite everything that Hudson has done over the course of this movie, and how much of a show off he is, the fact that he is like going straight for Newt shows his character. And the other guy, everyone else is going for Ripley, and they're trying to get the damn thing off of her. And well, this leads to,
and it's hard. It's hard because that facehugger is a tough son of a.
Yeah.
Like he's like that facehugger is like. Because Meanwhile, as they're trying to get off, the tail still wrapped around Ripley's neck. She is choking. She's like,
and it's like, okay, I gotta give credit. Like, the way that Sigourney Weaver plays that is brilliant. It's not like
and to get it off, it is like
whipping. It's whipping around. And they throw it and they blast it. And I'm like, yes! Okay, and then, well, they gotta deal with Burke. And, and Hudson's...
I suggest we grace this
rat fuck son of a bitch right now. And basically, well, yeah, obviously, now, this... Ripley kind of explains what Burke's plan is.
He thought he could get it past ICU quarantine if one of us were impregnated.
Nobody would know about the newts we were carrying, me and Newt. Wait a minute, we don't know. Yeah, but the only way he could do it is if he sabotaged certain freezers on the way home. Namely yours. Then he could genocide the bodies and make up any story he wanted to. And Hudson's like, fuck, that's it. You're dog meat, pal. And Burke is trying to defend himself. But this
so much gaslighting.
Yeah, and this leads to Ripley's one of her best lines. I don't know which species is worse. You don't see them fucking each other over for a goddamn percentage. All right, that's it. We waste them right in front of the little girl. Our hero, ladies and gentlemen.
I love it too because he even mentions a part where, because Burke says an insult to Hicks early in the movie, like, Hicks can't make this kind of decision. He's just a grunt. No offense. None taken. And meanwhile, I love he's like, in this, he's like, all right, that's it. We waste him. No offense. Like,
right in front of the little girl too. Our hero, ladies and gentlemen.
Right as they're prepared to execute his sorry, the aliens cut the power.
What do you mean they cut the power? How could they cut the power, man? They're animals. So, Vasquez and Hudson, they go out on patrol with their motion trackers. And, well, things get interesting because, Hudson's panicking, like you would. And Vasquez is like, Hudson may be right. And it's like, holy shit, they're inside the compound. They found another way in. So it's like, okay, get back to operations. It's go time. And so they seal the door, but then they realize, wait a minute, they're like 3 meters on this tracker. That's inside the room. It's like, what the fuck's going on? And they realize,
they build a lot of good tension with that too.
Shit. They're in the ceiling.
Hudson?
And it's like, fuck. And it's just like, oh man, I love this scene. Like, this is how you do, like, tense action, and I love it. And they start just... Now, obviously, they're just firing from the hip, but I love the way they're, like, as Hicks says, remember short control bursts. Actually, let's quickly talk about the pulse rifle for another thing. So, the pulse rifle, the way they made it was, they basically took a Thompson, a Tommy gun, and they put a bunch of plaster over it with an LED, and then they took the pump action section of a Spaz 12, put it underneath, and, well, ta-da, you got your pulse rifle. And I gotta say, I love the way this thing sounds. I love it's like, it's clearly, you can clearly tell it is in fact a Thompson being fired, or they must have edited it somehow, but I really enjoy it. And so they have to fall back, but Burke is being Burke, and so he basically screws them over by locking the door, and then this leads to, well, him getting killed. We'll talk about this in a minute, but he gets killed, and they have to retreat, and Newt says, hey, let's go through the exhaust ducts here. It's like, okay, and so they go through, and, well, Vasquez is covering the rear. Also, Hudson gets taken, like, he gets dragged down by a bunch of...
What's up? How about you?
Die, motherfucker! It's like, okay.
And unfortunately, an alien comes out from the floor and just pulls him
grabs
down.
Him, yeah.
It's like, oh. But hey, for what it's worth, Hudson died of, it's like Hudson's one of those, he cowered in a lot of moments, but when the moment truly counted, he made it count.
Oh, let's quickly talk about something. I know this is not canon, but Aliens Colonial Marines did something that I think we should quickly talk about. Yes, apparently in that game, Hicks actually survived. Or not Hicks, Hudson.
Why must you remind me of that game? Why?
It's just a quick thing I wanted to quickly touch on, but anyway.
The only good thing about that game is the arsenal. That's it. Everything else is absolutely horrible.
So they escape through they go through the air duct, and the dropship's going to be there in 16 minutes, and Vasquez is covering the rear. Unfortunately, she gets wounded. Gorman goes back for her, which, good on Gorman. Like, I know he was an asshole and he was a bit of a hard ass, but they actually he takes one of the he takes one of the grenades and
Oh, yeah, they get cut off, and so both of them are kind of like, well, shoot. So if we're gonna die, we're gonna die on our terms.
But unfortunately, this explosion causes Newt to get knocked down into a little chute that goes into some water. I'm gonna say right now, this is probably the other scary moment that always gets me. So basically, they have to track her but I think Hicks figured out that Ripley didn't have the bracelet on, and he probably figured that she gave it to Newt. So that might explain a few things. So they find her, but they have to cut through the grating. But there's a fucking ping on the sensor, and oh my god, this is horrifying. The alien rises out of the water, grabs her, she screams, and all we see when they finally cut through is just her doll. And I gotta give credit again to Sigourney Weaver. She plays that like motherly instinct scream just so well. So they have to kind of escape.
Well, and it's cool because it's like Hicks almost kind of develops that fatherly instinct too, because it's like Hicks is very nice to Newt the whole way through, especially like one cute scene I find is like while they were strategizing and planning early in the movie, Newt wanted to see what's going on, so Hicks just like picks her up and puts her on the table.
And also,
like,
I think
there you go.
I think Hudson puts like the little helmet on for her, and they go affirmative, affirmative, and she actually like picks up one of the grenades, and Hicks says, "Don't touch that, honey. It's dangerous." It's like,
yeah, like it's great, and I like Hicks' reaction with this because he's like, it's like, yes, okay, she's alive, I believe you, but we need to go, like, now.
So, yeah, they go into the elevator, and it's like, if you remember, when we get it uploaded, there's a bit where, like, they're pressing the elevator button, and you have to press it again, and then a fucking alien shows out, and, acid blood, except it basically melts through the armor. Now, I don't know if the acid actually, like, causes the injuries, but clearly
I think it does. I think what's suggested is like the acid itself didn't make contact with his skin, but the heat of the acid was like causing like, intense trauma on him.
Yeah.
Because, you notice his eye is hurt, which, that's probably from the steam of the acid.
That would make sense, yeah. And so basically
whatever else. So like, even though Hicks is not severely injured, he's like,
yeah, he's not he's not doing well, and Ripley literally has to carry him on her shoulders, and just in time, dude, because the dropship's here. It's like, Bishop, how much time? Plenty. 26 minutes. We're not leaving. We're not. And Hicks gives himself like basically a pain stim, basically, and meanwhile Ripley's gearing up. She's going in, and This is the moment I've always talked about when it comes to Ripley specifically. This is the moment where she finally embraces the whole, I am the lone survivor, but I'm also a mother. And she even says to Bishop, I don't want to hear about it, Bishop. She's alive. There's still time. In 19 minutes, this whole area is going to be a crater the size of Nebraska. Hicks, don't let him leave. We're not going anywhere. And they have this little cute little moment where, see ya, Hicks. Dwayne. It's Dwayne. Ellen. Don't be gone long, Ellen. Yeah,
that's in the extended cut. I like the scene as a character moment between the two, because there's a lot of nice little character moments between Hicks and Ripley in the extended cut. Like, there's another one in the special edition where when Ripley's first going inside the colony, it's like Ripley hesitates for a second.
I think that was...
And Hicks is...
Was that in the extended, or was that in the theatrical?
That's special edition, where it's like Ripley's first entering the colony, and she like stops for a second, and Hicks is like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, she has to like gather herself real quick, and she's like, "Yeah." Like, so there's a lot of nice little moments. It's a good moment, though. I understand why it's not in the theatrical, only because it does kind of stop the pacing a little bit. It's kind of like super urgent, then, oh, cute moment. then super urgent again. And I can understand the filmmaker's desire of like in the editing room where it's like, no, let's just keep it urgent the whole way through.
Yeah, so
So
Ripley goes...
there's a lot of
Yeah.
scenes like that in special edition where it's like, I can really enjoy those scenes and I think the scenes are really well made, but I can absolutely understand why the theatrical didn't include them.
Yeah, so Ripley goes in and she gears up. So she has pulse rifle with flamethrower, a duct tape.
Tapes it to a flamethrower.
She has a bunch of marking flares, a bunch of grenades, and she has her little tracker for Newt. And I'm like, and she's taking off her jumpsuit and she's like fixing her hair, and I'm like, holy shit! And then the shot of the elevator door coming up, and she's just ready to fucking go. Love this scene where like she's just firing blasts of flamethrower, and the scene where like her face is like here and the red lights glaring off her face. That is very impressive stuff. Actually, since we're talking about that, let's quickly talk about Burke, because there's a deleted scene that actually shows what happened to him. So after Ripley assumes that Newt is gone because she finds the tracker, well, Newt's actually alive and she manages to save her, there's a little bit of an explosion that happens. That explosion is because Burke was actually captured and he got infested. And basically, well, Ripley says...
In this deleted scene.
Yeah, in the deleted scene, yeah. And Ripley's like, okay, here. Takes a grenade, gives it to him and says, you can...
Yeah, like he's like begging, like, please help me. One of these things is inside of me. Like, I do not want to die like this. And Ripley in this deleted scene, and just one last moment of compassion, even though Burke really did not deserve it, she's like, here's a grenade.
Here. See you later. Yeah, and that's the explosion that we see a little bit later. And then, well, things get spicy, let's just say that.
Grenades are really such an anti-plot machine in this, because it's like everything that goes wrong happens because of grenades.
Yeah. I mean, who took over? Who was the assistant director? Michael Bay?
Well, it's also funny too. Like, yeah. So essentially, Newt is like actually alive. She's like cocooned, and there's a facehugger ready to have free real estate soon. And Newt, being Newt, is like screams on the top of her lungs.
And thankfully,
I know some people complain that it's annoying that she gets it, and I get that, but it's also like, if you were a 9-year-old girl in the middle of all this, I'm sorry, you would be screaming just as much.
Yeah, and then so basically Ripley is carrying Newt, and then they walk into the middle of the nest. Holy shit! There's so many eggs. Oh no! And then
and this is hinted at early in the movie, because when Ripley's talking with the gang, she's like, okay, so we know these, you know.
They got the colonists.
One egg has to be for each colonist, so if these are coming from the eggs, then who's laying these eggs? Bishop responds, I don't know, it must be something we haven't seen yet. The extended cut kind of extends on this further by saying it's like, oh, maybe it's some like kind of like an ant hive, and Vasquez like, bees have hives, not... And I'm kind of glad that scene is left out in the theatrical, only because I think that bit kind of makes it a little too explicit what they're setting up. It's like, I like how it cuts from the Bishop thing where it's like, I don't know, it must be something we haven't seen yet. Like, to me, that gives enough information to know there's something there, but we don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, and oh my god, the reveal of the Queen. That thing is a marvel of is an impressive practical achievement. Holy shit. This thing is disgusting and very, very impressive. It still looks good.
And terrifying.
Yeah. And, well, there's a bunch of fucking eggs opening, or like Ripley's like, you know, hey, you let us go.
Well, the Queen's immediately like preparing to order her drones to attack them, and Ripley's like,
Nope. Or you're gonna have fried eggs for breakfast. And then, well...
And the Queen's like, oh.
Okay,
back up.
But then that one facehugger egg has to ruin the whole thing, and we get the... And Ripley just...
That facehugger just couldn't keep it in the egg.
And Ripley just goes to fucking town. I'm gonna address something here that, I don't know if many people will know about this. So, okay. I'm taking the stereotype out here because You're an American. You know your guns. I'm going to address this. So the way that the grenade launcher is supposed to function, or what it's supposed to represent, is similar to the M203 grenade launcher. Now, the M203 grenade launcher has a arming distance. That means when it's fired, it needs time to travel through the air and arm before it actually explodes, of roughly 30 to 50 feet. Now, when Ripley starts, blasting the grenades, she's standing about 50 feet. So, okay, I can kind of buy that. The question is, would a grenade like that be able to not only penetrate the egg sac, which we got to talk about that quickly. The alien, the queen, is the one that's laying all the eggs and has a giant fucking egg sac, which when we covered this in TCW, I cannot believe I didn't bring this up. But
Well, yeah, pretty much the Geonosian Queen is pretty much a direct reference. But yeah, pretty much I mean, it makes sense only because it depends on like the type of momentum being fired, like the compression. So that's fine. Plus, it's a fictional world, so you got to run with it anyways.
Yeah,
But
and so she just fucking annihilates the nest, and then they get the fuck out of there. But well, Bishop's not.
Mama Queen ain't happy.
Yeah, so she actually separate, and it's gross, but she separates from the egg sac and chases after them, and it's funny because they're going.
You took away my family. Now I'm gonna take away yours. How's that sound, Tiger?
Oh my god.
Yeah, the queen is out for the vengeance. Like, let's just say when you really think about Aliens, the climax of that entire moment onwards is pretty much the biggest girl fight in history.
So they're running up the elevator, but it turns out, aliens have figured out how to use elevator buttons because she's coming up the other way.
Yeah, like they escape on the elevator, the queen's after them, she's like firing flames at it, and then as soon as they get away, the queen's like, she notices the other elevator door open, and she's like, huh.
And so when they get to the top, Bishop's not there.
I mean, it works though, because the movie does insinuate like the queen has a lot higher intelligence than the other aliens.
Yeah, the other drones. Yeah. So they get to the top, Bishop's not there, and Ripley's like, Bishop, god damn you! And they're like, they're about to be killed. One top.
And then she notices the elevator coming out. She's like, wait, what? Oh no! Elevator door opens and the queen's just like get over here, you little.
I have you now. And then Bishop comes in. Now I gotta address something else. So there's a theory going around that the reason that in the next movie I'm gonna have to spoil this, but the reason that an egg got on board the Sulaco was because either one of two things happened, which one of them is impossible because Bishop was technically piloting the ship, so they had no time to actually do this. But one theory suggests that Bishop actually went into the hive, got an egg, and put it on the drop ship. The other theory suggests that in the event of the hive being destroyed, the queen can effectively lay an emergency egg. So
yeah, that's where you get the situation with Alien 3 where its plot elements just are weird. Because here's the thing, I could even buy the idea of the queen laying an emergency egg to preserve their existence. I think what's odd, it's just kind of an element of the cinematography. It's the location that doesn't make sense because it's like in the mid-lab where the egg is. I kind of headcanon it where it's like, what would make sense is if the egg was on the drop ship. That is what would make sense because the queen was on there for a while. So I could see the queen easily go, okay, let me lay this emergency egg. I'll plant it up here. Good. All right, now for me to get my revenge on the humans.
Yeah. So Bishop rescues them,
but anyways, that's an Alien 3 issue.
Yeah.
So they escape. The colony blows up, and then they make it back to Sulaco, and everything seems all happy dory. Hicks is
unconscious.
Relocated. Hicks is unconscious, and they're like, hey, we got to take him to the med bay and get him in sleep soon. And everything seems all well. And Ripley's like, hey, Bishop, you did good.
Really?
And then Bishop notices, wait, why is there acid dropping?
Oh, fuck, yeah. And he just, the fucking tail, splits fucking... And I gotta admit, the practical effect here, I talk about a lot of practical effects here. This is a pretty impressive practical effect. And, well, Ripley's in mother mode again, and she basically diverts the alien to protect Newt. I'm not a fan of the way that Sigourney Weaver runs. Maybe that's just me. But, yeah. So she goes behind the door. We'll talk about that in a minute. While the...
Yeah, and the queen's like, she's pissed.
Yeah.
She is ready to like...
And so she goes after
Yeah,
Newt.
because she wants Ripley dead, but she's also like, I'm going to kill this child now because I know how much you care about her. So it's like, well, if you're going to kill all my kids, I'm going to kill yours.
Yeah, and actually this is something I really like, is that Newt's first instinct is to go underneath the floor and through the grating, and she's like, well, the queen...
She's trying to stay hidden, and she's good at it, but unfortunately that queen is like not
way too smart. And then we get the most iconic moment of the movie. Everybody say it with me now. Get away from her, you bitch! Oh god, okay, this is a moment that has become synonymous. Like, it is a famous moment from the movie, and it kind of cements it. Basically, like, as if the entire movie didn't cement Ripley as a badass already. Right here. Also, fun fact, this line was actually it was actually in a Harry Potter film. It was in Deathly Hallows Part 2, where Molly Weasley goes, "Not my daughter, you bitch." And I'm like,
oh dear. But yeah, essentially they have a really big fight where Ripley's using the power loader to fight against her. It's neat because it's like, yeah, she's using that to compete with the queen directly. However, it's like she's also knows she's not going to be able to just win again in a brawl. So she's purposely trying to draw the queen into essentially getting into the airlock. However, there's a lot of close encounters because that queen is being clever. Like, she is like trying to use her tail to stab like Ripley through. And then there's even a moment where like the queen's head gets really close and it's just like,
yeah. I also like how like Ripley like uses the power word to literally like, yeah, I'm gonna throw you in a fucking airlock. But unfortunately, well, the queen
grabs hold of it too, and she's like, "Nope, you're coming with me."
And this is a pretty tense moment, but it also leads to one of those unrealistic things that you kind of have to buy, where it's like, okay, I got a backup plan for my backup plan. So he basically starts the whole like decompression cycle, and she's holding on to dear life, and it's like, there's no way. There's no way.
Yeah, no, like, how should it end? It got that right. Or, like, realistically, that would tear right through her arm, like, nothing.
Yeah, and, well, it's funny because
you are not going to win in a strength battle against the vacuum of space. That's just not
because it's space,
happen.
Nobody can hear you scream.
Unless you're the alien queen for some reason.
Yeah, so the queen actually manages to grab her leg, but then, well, Ripley's shoe comes unloose, and that actually drags her down. And I love the little musical cue that goes here, which is really cool. And also, while everybody's getting like sucked out, Bishop actually manages to grab hold of Newt and hold on for dear life until Ripley comes in and seals the airlock. And yeah, and also another moment here where actually finally Newt calls Ripley mommy, and I'm like, that is a sweet moment right there, and I really like that. And then they pack him up in cold storage, and they're like, the day is won. Nothing's gonna happen.
Can I finally sleep now? Yeah, I think we can finally rest up. And then it ends with the two resting together, and then the movie ends.
Which means there's nothing bad that will happen along the way. Nope, nothing bad.
Right.
that meme. Oh my god.
Yeah, but this concludes the element with aliens, so I guess on to the ratings.
Okay, so my final... Okay, this is an automatic must-watch movie. You have to see this movie.
Badass seal of approval.
Angry Joe. Yeah, but I love this movie to death. I will defend it. I don't care what the Alien purists say. Like, this is better than Alien, in my opinion. Maybe it's because I grew up on the 80s films like Predator and Total Recall and Commando. Because I like...
Honestly, to me, as far as I'm concerned, between the first and the second movie, I don't even think it's a fair comparison to make. Because the thing is that in a way, even though they are direct continuations, it's comparing apples to oranges. One is dedicating itself as a sci-fi, like ultra sci-fi horror film, while the other is kind of more dedicated to being sci-fi action and sci-fi thriller. So to me, I think it's kind of like both work in their own way, and it just kind of comes down to personal preference.
Yeah, I love this film to death. Like, I am so excited. I'm excited for the 40th anniversary, and I actually do have the extended edition. I'm actually going to see if I can rebuy the special edition DVD because I want to preserve this film's legacy.
I
And
actually have it. I have it on Blu-ray.
oh, yeah, well there you go. And I think the film, as far as the theatrical version goes, I think it balances the emotional moments with the terror or the horror and the action and all the great things about this franchise as a whole. And I think it really cements Ellen Ripley as a badass, and not just any badass. Like, she stands among the greatest women characters in fiction. Like, she stands up there with Wonder Woman, with Sarah Connor. And even though technically Princess Leia was basically the first, which she, Princess Leia walked, so all these other badass women can run. She stands among them. Like, if we're talking if to make a Justice League comparison here, of the seven founding members, Ripley is the Wonder Woman of this movie, essentially, in my opinion. She is she is an incredibly well made character, and as
Well,
much
you
as
relate to her struggle. You relate to her struggle,
yeah,
her trials, her tribulations, and even in just what she values, because it's clear that she has that value in not only making right of things that happened, but also really just protecting the only thing she can kind of see as a family that's left, and that's Sue Newt, who also had her family taken from her because of this whole situation. So I think it ultimately works well. The Marine characters are given good development to work with, and ultimately has a lot of good themes and explorations that are really enjoyable. So like, if I were to give a final rating on my end, it's a very strong 9 out of 10 movie for me.
it's a 10, it's a 12 out of 10, 15 out of 10 for me. Like
Oh my God.
like I am
I'd probably say if there's only one complaint I could levy against the movie in a serious note, I'd probably say I think the aliens are, which I understand part of that is just going to be the nature of it being more fast-paced and more of an action genre, but I do feel like the aliens are a little less scary in here compared to the first film, and that's okay. I understand what they were going for, but it's like I just mean that in the literal sense, since the aliens are they're really well designed, but it's like they are smaller. They do appear smaller and weaker compared to the first one. So
yeah.
it's like so it's kind of like I can it's a forgivable sin even if it's one that's not a super big deal to me, like, but it's a very strong 9 out of 10 movie for me. It's one that is pretty much, I mean, honestly, I'd even probably say it's close to a 10 out of 10 for me because it's like there's just not really a whole lot wrong with this movie. It fundamentally works on so many levels that essentially by existing, it's just it accomplishes so much within its plot, its characters, its tone, its setting, and generally, as far as I'm concerned, it's one of the shining examples of how to do a really good sci-fi action movie.
And how to do a sequel to it, which Cameron did this once, and you know that SpongeBob thing where he goes, "You want to see me do it again?" T2, which we're gonna have to talk about at some point.
We'll get to it,
Oh boy.
but yeah, I mean, overall, very, very incredible movie. If you haven't seen it, what the hell are you doing here? Go
Yeah.
see it.
And
But
especially with the 40th anniversary coming up, like next year, oh my god, I am so excited. Like,
yeah, and between the first and the second one, these two are pretty much agreed universally are incredible. So it's like, even if you're someone that's like not like hardcore Alien fan like I am, and like Dead Ponic is, it's still like, watch the first one, watch the second one. they're great films. They're just great all around. They're fantastic. They're incredible. They're handled very well. And really it's just, they're just must watch, especially if you're someone that's just into especially films from like the 80s. They're just
especially
great. But
especially the 80s because well that era was dominated by Schwarzenegger and Stallone, but then it allowed other franchises to kind of come up from under the radar, which is how well technically it started with I believe it started with Predator and then went to Alien. I don't know for sure, but I particularly like the thing in how Predator 2 established that, you know,
Predator's 87.
yeah. Okay, never mind. Well,
Yeah, yeah. First Alien 79, then it's Aliens in 86, and then Predators 87.
yeah, and Predator 2 actually established the possibility of a cinematic universe where the two could cross over, which at some point we're going to have to cover the first one.
Oh, we'll have to get to that one day. God
Yeah.
have mercy on us. But yeah, generally speaking, fantastic movie, must watch, go do it. And yeah, that pretty much concludes my side of things. Deponics, you got anything else you want to add?
Nope. So stay tuned for more episodes and possibly more movie reviews over the course of the summer, possibly. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. See you later.